question is that Clause 118 stand part of the bill. Baroness Jones of Moscombe, I understand you wish to make some comments.
Thank you. How nice to be back here again. I oppose clauses 118, 119 and 120 standing part of the bill. These clauses introduce a preemptive targeting of people based on location rather than behaviour, and that should concern anyone who cares about the right to peaceful protest. Under these clauses, a senior police officer may designate an area in anticipation of a protest based on a belief that an offence is likely to occur. Once that designation is in place, simply wearing an item said to conceal identity becomes a criminal offence. This applies to everyone in a designated area. Criminal liability comes not from conduct, but from being in a certain place and from what a person is wearing. That's a profound shift in approach and one I cannot support. It is also a massive broad discretion. An inspector can designate a locality for up to 24 hours, extendable on the basis of a prediction, a guess, rather than evidence of immediate serious violence. The result is a huge power to ban everyday protective coverings across a place at a time based only on an estimate of what might happen. That's exactly the kind of power that leads to over-enforcement and a chilling effect on protest, particularly for those who already face risks from being identified. The government may say that defences to these exist for health, religion or work, but those protections operate after arrest and charge, not at the point where the person decides whether it's safe for them to attend a protest at all. That's the key issue here. Liberty supporters have been very clear about the real-world impact. One disabled person wrote, "I'm clinically vulnerable. Forcing disabled people like me to unmask is surely disability discrimination." Another said, "As a single woman, I do not want to be identified. Women who've experienced domestic abuse may cover their faces for the same reason." For others, including diaspora activists and those with credible fears of transnational repression, anonymity is not a political statement, but a basic safeguard. We have already seen reporting on how mask restrictions at UK solidarity protests, including those linked to Hong Kong, have deterred participation because surveillance and reprisals are very real concerns. This then becomes about who feels safe enough to exercise their democratic rights. And I must ask, are these clauses really necessary? Police already have targeted power under Section 60AA of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994 to require the removal of certain items where this is justified. That power has been used in recent protest policing, including at protests outside a migrant hotel in Epping. So, Minister, what evidence does the government have of a gap in existing targeted powers that they cannot meet, rather than simply a desire for broader preemptive control? The government has not demonstrated an operational gap so far. What we appear to have instead is a preference for wider preemptive control rather than targeted evidence-based policing. That matters because Articles 10 and 11 of the European Convention on Human Rights are absolutely clear. Any restriction on protest must be necessary and proportionate, and the Strasbourg Court has repeatedly warned against measures that deter peaceful participation through fear of sanction. A clause that criminalises ordinary behaviour across a designated area without reference to a person's actual behaviour is precisely the kind of measure that risks crossing that line. I want to ask the Minister, will the government consider narrowing the trigger to imminent and serious violence or disorder and introducing a clear front-end reasonable excuse protection rather than relying on defences only after arrest? If the government's concern is intimidation or disorder, then the answer is better use of existing targeted powers, not a blanket approach that sweeps up disabled people, women concerned about safety, and minority communities along with everybody else. So for all those reasons, I support removing clauses 118, 119 and 120 from the bill. I beg to move.